Hey everybody, I'm Alexis, and in this video, I want to help you figure out in 4 questions if you are a P or a J in the Myers-Briggs system. In my opinion, this can be one of the most difficult ones to figure out because it actually is just a part of your personality that is part of a code for Myers-Briggs. But this letter is the one that is kind of like the least grounded in tangible experiences. It's the one that there are kind of the least amount of information out there about, I would say, and there's a lot of conflicting information about it. One thing, like I said in the last video, that's important to do is to answer these questions with someone who knows you well, because I think sometimes we tend to overestimate or underestimate our abilities. And sometimes when you ask this question, like, you might sit there and be like, oh, I sort of do, I sort of don't. But what that other person, someone that's really close to you, can help you do is say, in regard to the general population, you've got all these types of people, and when you kind of compare yourself to lots of people, when you can get kind of like the average going, then it becomes a little bit more obvious. And one thing to note before I begin is that there are some types that are going to come off very P-ish, and there are some types that are going to come off very J-ish, and there are some types that are going to be a little bit more in the middle. So if you are an EJ, you're going to come off very much like a J. If you're an EP, you're going to come off very much like a P. It's the introverted types that are not going to come off so strongly either way. So the IJs and the IPs are not going to come off so strongly. So what these letters really mean is if you are a J, you show the world the way you make judgments. Not judgments the way you condemn, but the way you make decisions, your decidedness. So you show the world your decidedness, and on the inside, that's where you keep all of your learning and your open-mindedness. That would be like your second letter, N or S. However, if you are a P, you show the world your learning, your open-mindedness, and you keep your decidedness on the inside. Ps tend to, while they do have some decidedness in their mind, they might in their mind think, wow, that wasn't really a moral thing for that person to do, or maybe that wasn't very logical. But they tend to, on the outside, go with the flow more. So they're not going to say the judgments that they have, but they are more decided on the inside. So on the inside, they're decided, go with the flow on the outside. Whereas J's are kind of the opposite with that. So they kind of show people their decidedness, but on the inside, they are actually kind of go with the flow. The second way to tell if you're a J or a P is, do you do your best work and kind of enjoy it the most when it's kind of spur of the moment, spontaneous, you have to do it quickly, and maybe even do you kind of subconsciously procrastinate because you do your best work last minute and when you're kind of under the gun. And that would be something that more Ps would tend to do. Something that Js would more tend to do is really prefer the advanced planning, the advanced notice. If you're inviting me to an event, go ahead and tell me 3 weeks beforehand. That'll be great. And that is because Ps really value freedom and the ability to pivot. So when you set out a plan for how the next 3 weeks are going to look, that appears to inhibit their freedom, and they're really not going to enjoy that. However, if you were to put a J in a circumstance where they need to procrastinate, they're going to feel like they're not going to do their best thinking because they cannot do their best thinking on the fly. Now, they could get it done, but it makes them feel very chaotic and very hectic, which they do not like. And they actually find their freedom by getting things done ahead of time so that they have a clear peace of mind after they've gotten the thing done. This dichotomy, this J or a P dichotomy, actually is a code that goes to a much deeper level. So if you find Myers-Briggs interesting and these letter dichotomies interesting, watch my next video, because actually there is like a whole new world of Myers-Briggs once you can understand these letters. So I encourage you to go ahead and watch my next video about cognitive functions and the cognitive function stack. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Like a classic example of this that I've noticed is like, let's say the types are in Home Depot. The TJs are going to be very conscientious of if they are standing in the aisle, in the flow of traffic, for the sense of efficiency. FJs are going to be aware of, are they in the flow of traffic, because they think everyone should be conscientious and their needs are met. So they want to be conscientious of other people. They don't want to be in other people's way. The TPs at Home Depot are going to be really looking at the thing they're buying. What size of screw are they buying? And they are not paying attention to if they're in the aisle at all. It takes someone getting like right up next to them to be like, oh, okay, I'm moving. Whereas the TJs and the FJs would have more so planned, okay, people are probably going to be going by, so I'll just get out of the way right away. Same thing with the FPs. With the example of Home Depot, I think the FPs might feel a little bit lost in Home Depot, but the FPs are going to be so interested in everything that they're looking at that they might just be kind of like, wandering like lackadaisically through the aisles, and they're not really noticing if they're being slow or they got sidetracked or if they're on focus. They're just kind of like going around.